Hey everyone, welcome back. We are going deep today into a project.
Oh, this is going to be good.
It is. It's called the Indigenous Navigator Initiative,
Okay.
and it's funded by the European Union.
Hmm.
So we've got this report here outlining everything they're doing,
Very cool.
and it's just incredible work. Really fascinating.
Yeah, the Indigenous Navigator Initiative, they're trying to accomplish a lot, like bringing more attention to Indigenous people's issues.
Right.
They're also keeping tabs on how international agreements are being implemented.
Oh, like which ones?
Well, like the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples,
Yeah.
and also that ILO Convention 169.
Oh, right. The International Labor Organization one.
Exactly. That one's specifically about Indigenous and tribal people's rights.
Makes sense.
And then on top of all that, they're working towards those UN Sustainable Development Goals. Big picture stuff.
Yeah, huge undertaking.
Definitely.
So for our deep dive today, we're zeroing in on what they call Pillar 3.
And this is where they give small grants to indigenous communities down in Peru.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they can design and lead their own development projects.
That's empowering, letting them take charge.
That's the whole idea. It's all about the communities creating the change they want to see.
I like that. It's a real shift from those top-down development models we see so often.
Yeah.
And the report really emphasizes how much potential there is when you just recognize the knowledge and skills these communities already have.
Right. Like they're coming up with their own solutions.
Yeah, solutions that are tailored to their specific needs and challenges.
Okay, so ready to jump into the first project?
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
All right, so picture this. We're in the Amazon rainforest,
Okay.
and the Quechua people are working hard to revitalize their traditional healing practices.
Makes sense, especially with all the impacts they've faced from oil extraction in that region.
Exactly. And you can really see that resilience in this project.
Oh, how so?
Well, the Quechua Indigenous Federation of Pastaza, or FEDICIP,
Okay, Federico.
yeah, they're building this medicine center. It's in the Saboloyaku community,
Uh-huh.
and it's called Sacha Tarpukunawa Empirina Wasi. It's a beautiful name.
What does it mean?
It translates to, like, house where ancestral knowledge is shared.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, it's perfect. It really captures what they're all about.
So this center is basically going to be like a central hub for all that traditional knowledge.
Right, and those healing practices.
And it goes beyond just healthcare, too. It aligns with quite a few of those sustainable development goals.
Really? Which ones?
Well, obviously good health and well-being,
Uh-huh.
but also gender equality and life on land.
Wow, so it's a pretty holistic approach.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I was reading that they're building it right next to a protected forest in an oxbow lake.
You know, that connection between nature and well-being is such a core part of Quechua beliefs.
It is, and you see it in their healing practices, too.
Absolutely. It's not just about treating symptoms. It's about getting to the root cause of the illness.
And restoring balance for the individual and the environment.
It's exactly.
I can't even imagine trying to manage a project like this in such a remote location.
Yeah, I bet it's tough.
The report mentioned they had some real administrative hurdles.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Just limited access to banking, and those formal structures.
Yeah, those logistical challenges. That's a theme that pops up a lot in this report.
It does,
It
right?
really highlights how much these communities need flexible funding.
And support systems.
Exactly. Systems that are actually designed for their realities.
But even with those challenges, they're moving forward, making real progress.
That's great to hear. It's not just about building a center. It's about bringing those healing practices back to life.
Yeah, and preserving them for future generations.
Now, let's shift gears for a second.
Okay, where are we going?
From the Amazon rainforest to the Morona River Basin.
Ooh,
The Wampus Nation there is tackling food security.
food security, that's big.
It is. And their project focuses on Wampus women.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
They're creating networks for exchanging seeds and knowledge about their traditional farming practices.
Love that.
And get this, it's the first project in this whole region that's entirely managed by Indigenous women.
Oh, wow, that's huge.
It really is. It covers several sustainable development goals, like zero hunger, gender equality, and life on land.
It's all connected.
It is. It's about empowering these women to control their food systems, making sure that their traditional knowledge doesn't disappear.
And it gets passed down.
Right. And it's not like someone just came in and handed them this project.
No, they saw the need themselves, right?
Exactly. The report mentions that Wampus women had been voicing concerns about losing seed diversity.
Oh, yeah, and facing nutritional deficiencies.
Yeah, and they turned those concerns into action.
Very cool. So what are they doing specifically?
Well, they have this really innovative system where younger and older women work together in pairs.
Oh, I liked that.
So that ensures those traditional farming practices and all that knowledge about different seeds gets passed down to the next generation.
It's like a built-in mentorship perk.
Exactly. And they're not stopping there. They even organized a trip to the Shuar territory over in Ecuador
No kidding. What for?
to expand their seed stock, get even more variety.
They're really taking the lead on this.
They are. They're committed and resourceful. And the impact of this project has been so positive, they're already replicating it
Really? Where?
in the Santiago River Basin, and they're using their Wampus FM radio station called Tuntui to spread the word.
That's fantastic. Using modern technology to spread their traditional knowledge.
It's a powerful combination.
It is. Okay, so the third project we're looking at focuses on leadership.
Leadership, that's key.
It is, and it's called the Wampus Intercultural Sharian School of Leaders,
Wow, what a name.
right? And it's another initiative from the Autonomous Territorial Government of the Wampus Nation.
Or GTNW for short.
Exactly, GTANW. And this school is all about training young Wampus leaders
To do what?
to manage their internal affairs and to have those productive dialogues with the state.
So they're really setting them up for success in a complex world.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
What makes this leadership program different from others, though?
Well, unlike more traditional programs, this one is rooted in Wampus history and their cultural values.
Interesting.
So it's not just about learning laws or management techniques. It's about understanding how their society has changed.
And how to face their local challenges from a place of deep cultural understanding.
Exactly.
They're leading with knowledge and cultural identity. That's powerful.
It is, and it's proving to be effective. They've trained 32 young Wampus individuals, including 6 women.
That's awesome. And are they putting those leadership skills into practice?
Absolutely. They've already established a municipal observatory to keep an eye on local government activities.
So they're taking initiative, making a real difference.
They are, and it's just the beginning. GTNW wants to keep the Sharian School going, maybe even expand it into a bigger technical training institution.
Wow, that's a big vision.
It is. They're committed to their community's future, that's for sure.
So before we get into the bigger picture here, what are your initial thoughts on all these projects? Anything that really stands out to you?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here. I think what's striking me is how these projects are kind of turning the idea of development on its head.
Oh, how so?
It's not about imposing those outside solutions,
Right.
It's more like nurturing the seeds of change that are already there in these communities.
Yeah, it's about recognizing all that knowledge and capability that already exists.
Exactly. And it's not just about holding on to the past.
Right.
It's about adapting, innovating for the future.
Yeah, like what the Wampus Nation is doing with their radio station.
Right. Using it to share all that info about sustainable farming. That's brilliant.
It really is. They're blending the best of both worlds.
They are.
Traditional knowledge and modern technology to make something new and sustainable.
I love it.
And we can't forget, all these projects are contributing to those global sustainable development goals
Oh,
in
absolutely.
such a tangible way.
We're talking health, food security, gender equality, education.
Yeah. They're not shying away from those big issues,
No, they're tackling them head on.
but through their own cultural lens.
Right, and with a sense of local ownership.
It really changes how we think about development, doesn't it?
It does. It's not about us helping them. It's about recognizing that they're the ones driving change.
Exactly.
But the report also makes it clear that we need to provide the right kind of support.
Like what kind?
Flexible funding, for one.
Oh, yeah, those traditional grant cycles, they just don't work for these kinds of community-based projects.
Nope, because those projects might take longer.
Or need to change direction along the way.
Exactly. They're organic, they need space to grow and evolve.
And it's not even just about the amount of money.
Right.
It's how that funding gets delivered.
The report really emphasizes those challenges,
Oh, yeah.
with those administrative procedures.
Especially when there's limited access to banking and all those formal structures.
Yeah, there was this one part in the report that really stuck with me.
Oh, what was it?
This community was struggling to submit a financial report
Oh, what happened?
because the nearest internet connection was miles away.
Oh, no.
We can't expect them to work within systems that just aren't made for their realities.
It makes sense that they'd run into problems.
Right. We need to streamline those processes.
And give more support on the ground.
Yeah, so communities can manage those funds effectively.
And then, of course, there's the pandemic.
Oh, right.
The report talks about how COVID-19 threw everything off.
Definitely caused delays, forced them to adjust,
It shows how important it is for these projects to be resilient.
and adaptable.
But it also exposed the limits of those strict timelines,
And rigid funding structures.
especially when something unexpected happens,
It's a good reminder to be flexible.
and to adapt when things change.
Now, the report also highlights the importance of Indigenous women's leadership.
Yeah, the Wampus Women's Agrobiodiversity Project is such a great example,
It is, but it also shows those social barriers they had to overcome.
which is frustrating.
Yeah. It's not surprising, though.
It's sad to see how deep those gender inequalities run.
Even in communities that are trying to move forward.
Right, the report mentioned how some husbands tried to stop their wives from participating.
Yeah, and even some local leaders weren't supportive.
It just goes to show how important it is to break down those old norms.
And those power structures that hold women back.
It's about making sure their voices are heard
And that their leadership is celebrated.
and their contributions are valued.
We have to address those underlying social and cultural barriers.
The ones that stop them from fully participating.
And supporting women's leadership isn't just the right thing to do.
It makes sense, practically.
When women thrive, communities thrive.
Exactly. And the report also talked about the need for ongoing support.
And mentorship.
It's not enough to just give the funding and walk away.
No, these communities need access to those technical experts.
Administrative guidance.
Networking opportunities.
Yeah. It's like giving someone ingredients but no recipe.
Exactly. They need that guidance and support to really thrive.
And it's not just about bringing in outsiders.
Right.
It's about recognizing the knowledge and experience within these communities.
And creating opportunities for them to learn from each other.
That connection between communities is so important.
Especially when they're facing similar challenges.
Imagine what they could achieve if they shared their successes and learned from their mistakes.
The report also touches on working with local governments.
Oh, right. Ideally, those would be partnerships.
But in reality, it's not always so easy.
We saw that with the Quechua Medicine Center.
Yeah, the local government wasn't really involved in healthcare there.
Even though most of the people in that area are indigenous.
Makes you think about those power dynamics, you know?
And whether those government institutions are truly committed to supporting indigenous self-determination.
It's a good reminder that we need more than just individual projects.
Right. We need systemic change.
We need policies that recognize Indigenous rights.
And prioritize community-led development.
And ensure that everyone has equal access to resources and decision-making power.
And that's where we all come in.
Oh, absolutely.
This isn't just the responsibility of indigenous communities.
It's something we all need to be advocating for.
Okay, so as we wrap up our look at this report,
Okay.
let's step back for a second.
Right.
What have we learned from the Indigenous Navigator Initiative's approach? What are those key takeaways we can carry with us?
What do you think?
For me, it's the power of community-driven development.
Definitely.
These projects are proof of the knowledge, the resilience, the ingenuity in these communities.
They're not waiting around for someone else to fix things. They're taking charge.
And it's not just about reaching those tangible goals.
Right.
It's about changing the power dynamics.
Recognizing those Indigenous rights.
And ultimately making a fairer, more sustainable world for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It really makes you think about what progress actually means, doesn't it?
It does. It's not always about economic growth or those things that are easy to measure.
No, it's more about empowering communities, strengthening their cultural identity.
Creating that sense of well-being.
Yeah, which can be hard to put into numbers.
It is, but it's so valuable.
It's about those communities deciding what a good life means to them.
And us respecting their right to make their own choices.
Exactly. And that brings up another point. Sustainability.
Oh, absolutely.
These development paths need to be sustainable.
For the communities and the planet.
It's all connected, right?
It is. That's why those UN Sustainable Development Goals are so important.
We can't just focus on one issue and ignore everything else.
Nope. We got to think about those ripple effects.
It's like that old saying, everything is connected.
And, you know, Indigenous cultures have understood that for a long time.
Yeah, they have. And their practices, that connection to nature, they offer so much insight.
Especially when we were talking about things like climate change and biodiversity loss.
Right. We have a lot to learn from them.
But it's not just about taking that knowledge.
No, it's about respecting their rights.
Making sure they benefit from the use of their traditional knowledge.
And supporting them to decide how that knowledge is shared.
Moving away from those old extractive models.
Building relationships that are actually equitable.
where we recognize and value what Indigenous peoples bring to the table.
The Indigenous Navigator initiative is a great example of that.
It really is.
But imagine if this approach, this commitment to community-driven development,
And Indigenous self-determination.
imagine if that was happening everywhere.
Wow, what kind of world can we create?
It's a powerful question to think about.
It really is. Think about the changes we could see if we just shifted our perspective.
Embraced a more inclusive approach.
We spend so much time looking for answers in the wrong places.
Yeah, and the wisdom, the solution, they've been there all along.
In these communities that have been ignored for so long.
Exactly.
The Indigenous Navigator Initiative and all the other groups doing this kind of work, they show us what's possible.
When we listen to and support Indigenous communities,
They have so much to teach us.
about building a better future.
For everyone.
Well said. If you're as inspired by all of this as we are,
I know I am.
we'll put a link to the full report in the show notes.
Definitely check it out.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
There's a whole world out there waiting to be explored.
So keep diving deep, keep asking those big questions, and keep searching for those hidden gems of knowledge.
The ones that can guide us forward.
Until next time, happy exploring.